Cool. So we're recording.
Are we? Usually it says.
All right.
It will tell me. I don't think it's recording.
I see recording on my side.
You do? Okay, well, we'll trust that. It's very strange that it's not not letting me know that I'm being recorded.
That is
Okay, so yeah, let's dive in here into the code quality section, and you can ask your questions as we go, or we can start with them. We may be able even to get a couple of these done if you'd like. Would you like to start with questions, or would you like me to take you through the page and then we can loop back?
Why don't we start with going through the page, and then we'll loop back to questions.
Great. So category vision for code quality is part of the product vision for Verify overall, which also ties then up into the direction for CI/CD. But this is very focused on the part of the Verify pipelines, which are around automatically doing code quality analysis on pipelines and then making that visible in various places. All of our category vision pages follow the same or similar format to this one, where there's a little bit of a description of the code quality feature. A lot of your categories, James, are going to be ones that you need a little bit of love and could use some expansion. And already, yeah, this is a true statement about what code quality is, but we could probably talk a little bit more about what the feature is and what our philosophy of code quality is at GitLab, and expand on this and make it a little bit more comprehensive. Shouldn't be like a novel, but maybe a paragraph or two would be more useful. This is sort of like a little bit of placeholder content. They all have an issue list, which I'll open here. And this is just all of the items open with the code quality label. It's interesting here to sort things by popularity. If you want to see what's upcoming, you can sort by milestone due date as well. Create a date, you can find some older things as well. And it's really good when you're thinking about quality. If you haven't done it already, just to read through this entire backlog, and it's not so long. There's only 80 items in it that you can sort of see patterns here. Maybe find some duplicate issues even and close them out. Ask questions and engage with your customers. There's an overall vision, which will link back to the Verify page that I just took you to. There's a UX research issue where if you want to do UX research on any of these topics, this is shared across Verify, but you can request that with the UX team there. And then anybody who is maybe a customer or a user who wants to see what we're doing, they're also able to jump in there. And then finally, in this little intro section, we have a public epic, which is basically because our web pages don't have a discussion thread at the bottom. This serves that purpose. They aren't super highly used, but make sure that you, like me, have notifications on these, so that if somebody comments in there, you get a notification about it. You probably already do based on subscribing to different labels, but,
yeah.
But maybe not actually, because I see this doesn't have the group labels in it.
Okay.
It's probably the case on all of them, by the way. And then I'll introduce the sections first before we dive into them. The what's next and why is, of all of the things that we might be working on, what is the one most important thing? And as a product manager, you have several categories, so you're going to be spread out a little bit in thinking about these things. It's great if we look a little further ahead and have plans about what we're going to do over a longer period. But the most important thing you need to do as a product manager for every one of your categories is truly know what that one most important thing is that we want to do next. And the reason for that is things are going to change. You can make plans and they can inform your decision making, and that's great. But not picking the right next thing to work on based on all the criteria that are available to you and your sensing mechanisms means you're off track from the start. So that's actually why we have this here highlighted so centrally. And then the rest of these items inform that. So there's a maturity plan. All of our categories have a maturity level, and they all then have a next maturity level that they can achieve. We always try to keep the plan here about what the items that we think are in the backlog that are going to bring us to that next level of maturity. And there's some definitions of maturity you can look at here. It's important to be thinking about your competitive landscape and what competitors are doing in this space. The customer success and sales teams can also be a source of inspiration. Customers directly. Internal customers also very important as we prioritize dog fooding. And then the top vision item is the one that really is owned by you as the product manager. It can be something that customers maybe aren't thinking about yet. It can be something that's going to be a foundation for what you build on in the future, but it's something that's really coming from you as a product manager. Sometimes there's duplicates between these sections, and that can be totally normal, especially for a planned category. Often the thing that everyone is asking for is for the thing to exist. And so it's like the MVC for the category is the one thing that moves the vision forward, that internal customers are going to use, that customers are going to use. In which case you can just sort of like, if you ever have any of those categories like that for anyone, you can just like kind of have that in the what's next and why, and then just refer to like back to that for all of them, so you're not repeating yourself.
Okay. Yeah, a couple of my categories play at face. So that's good to know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
how would you differentiate between the items in the maturity plan and the items in the vision? It seems to me like there's some duplication or overlap between those two areas. So
Yeah.
I assume that they're both there for a reason, but would love a deeper dive on why they're both there, how they differ.
Yeah. So the maturity plan is a little bit more pragmatic, I think, than the vision is maybe the difference. And maybe it is common. I haven't actually really thought about that. Maybe they do end up having similarities a lot of the time, or having the same items a lot of the time. But maybe a good example is something that's like this at a minimal maturity level, and we're working on getting it to viable. Viable's very much oriented around like the really pragmatic things that you need to do to make the feature usable. So providing code quality on master, CI view for code quality notices, and diffs and MRs. Those are like basic functionalities that you need to deliver before you really say you have a viable code quality solution. The vision, and I don't actually know what's in here, but like, okay, yeah, so the vision is more about like looking at how code quality is evolving over a over a project's life cycle. So maybe it's not really needed in order to get it to the next maturity level. And then similarly, adding better support for .NET users and supporting like C# and other Microsoft languages in code quality is something that moves the vision forward, but isn't necessarily the most pragmatic thing to get to viable. Actually, now that I'm kind of talking this out, though, I think that maybe this one, supporting Microsoft, is really part of being viable. But you as a product manager can kind of think that through and make that decision. It can be in both. But I think that this is clearly a vision item that's kind of like how your future for the category that isn't part of the next steps of getting this thing to viable. So that's how I would describe it.
Oops.
And then from there, those are the sections. We can start looking at these individual items and why they're here. So yeah, we're gonna run into this decent amount, I think. Is this the GitLab project? Okay, this one is open. Replace browser performance job definition with a vendored template. This one is a little strange that it's here, because I think that this is, well, it says code quality, but I think this is actually browser performance testing. So yeah, double check that. If it is, then it should lose the code quality category and get the web performance category, be removed from the what's next for this category, and we should pick something else that's actually what's next. We can actually go look at what's really next by going into the issue list and ordering by milestone due date. And we can see in 12.4, we've got a couple items. 12.5, we have a few, and then 12.7 beyond that. And yeah, some of the interesting ones that we were touching on earlier are here. So it looks like the truth of what we're delivering. Well, we are delivering this one, but I think it's just the wrong category. And this is just an end-to-end test, so this is actually an internal issue for us.
Yep.
These are two bugs that we're fixing. This is a backstage item. So it looks like really what's next is these.
When you say backstage item, I'm not familiar with that terminology.
Yeah. Backstage means that the engineering team is driving some change,
Okay.
but it's not something that a customer is going to see.
Gotcha. Okay.
So it's important for refactoring, or for how something's implemented, or maybe reliability or performance. It can be a lot of different things, but it's not a customer-facing feature.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
In this case, it looks like it's actually, it looks like the secure team is implementing it. So maybe it's something that they're implementing so that they can build some other feature on top of it. I'm actually not super familiar with what it is. But the next things that looks like we're doing for code quality are these two, which are scheduled for the same release, supporting .NET code coverage results and the CIV for code quality, which were both on the maturity plan. And this one as well, which I think is also on the maturity plan.
Mm-hmm.
So it looks like the plan is in 12.7 to do everything that's on the maturity plan in one release, which is maybe realistic, maybe not, but that's the current plan. So then I think what we would say, coming back here, what's next and why, is actually focusing on maturity. Make sure that you really, some of these may be sitting in 12.7 just because they were kind of like moved out to a future release so that they could be reevaluated later. But if those were to stay, then what's next and why is in 12.7 or in the next release where we touch code quality, we're going to be bringing up this category to the next maturity level by delivering these three things. And then we've explained what we're doing and why we're doing it.
I wanted to, because I haven't touched this vision page yet, and wanted to get some insight into the maturity plan here versus looking then at the definition of maturity level. The plan to move code quality isn't scheduled right now to move at all in the next year or so.
No.
So what is the actual priority of doing those items versus, when we get to verify, looks like load testing, system testing, and usability testing actually have plans to move forward in the maturity model over the next year. Code quality looks like it's slated to stay at minimal. Yeah.
So good question. There isn't an answer for it. It's just probably an oversight. So the solution is that either some of those will get pulled out of 12.7, which would actually be here, and or actually would be here. That's the last release of this fiscal year. And then this is then accurate, or those will stay, and then we should update the categories.yaml to note that on January 22nd, we will have bumped code quality up. I think what had happened is that at one point we had too many categories that were bumping up maturity in Q4 because like everything for the year that didn't make it was slowly getting moved forward, and it was just like this pile of, there was no way we were going to do all of it in Q4. So we did an exercise where we scaled that back, and I probably just forgot to then unschedule some of the items that were in 12.7.
Okay.
Probably because I knew you were starting and you would take care of it, and it would be wonderful for me.
Well, I will make that happen. I think what I'd like to do is actually get some of those bug fixes that we have scheduled for 12.5 out the door, and then get a better understanding of how people are actually using code quality. Get some legit customer feedback through customer interviews, and some actual quantitative numbers of how people are using the feature. So that we have a better roadmap into, based on where we want to go vision-wise, what are the actual pragmatic things to do. So yeah, I'll pull those items out of 12.7. And then regroom them with those thoughts in mind in a couple of releases, I think.
Yeah, there wasn't any master plan that was associated with getting code quality to viable on this particular date or anything like that. Cool. So, but good job, finding that mismatch and raising that. That's really good. I must have just gone on this page. That's going to keep beeping, so I'll be right back.
Okay.
Okay. Oh, it's still beeping anyway. Okay. Hopefully it's not too annoying. So let's then look at, actually we talked about these items, but we didn't open them. So let's take a look at these three as well. So code quality on master. We show code quality on a merge request now, but we don't show what the current code quality is in a general way on master or any other branch. So this is bringing that feature just to like kind of a static view. Well, it's not static, but like a single place where it just always is. Even if you have no merge requests open, you can see the code quality on your master branch. Um, yeah, so that's a just nice basic feature that will help bring in this to viable. A CI view for code quality is a similar view. It doesn't look like we have any mockups in here yet, so you'll want to work with Dimitri or somebody else if you're going to keep the schedule for 12.7. To show a CI-specific view that's, again, not related to the diffs, but related to the current quality of the code. So I'm actually not sure. I guess this is a branch-based view, and this is just a CI view for a pipeline. Yeah, I think there's a little bit of a question here around what exactly we will build because there's no UX that's been discussed or no mockups provided. But the general idea is it's showing current code quality in another place.
Okay.
And then show code quality notices on diffs MRs. So this is about showing how you're going to change code quality in the diff, which will be pretty cool. So, and there is a screenshot in this one. So it's saying on this line, your code quality does not pass GoFunt, which is like the analyzer for the formatter for Go. And you can see it right there, in line in the diff, which is pretty cool. Mm-hmm. Another one here. Yep.
So looking through the backlog, I see in one of the type request, a customer issue, and internal issue are the same of being able to stop an MR if code quality is decreased or not increased. It feels like that would be a good, or that issue that we just looked at, the code quality notices, would be a good follow-on from the one before, so that you can go back and look at like where the code quality had decreased in the diff.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. Showing it first and then blocking on it is probably the right way to do that. But yeah, okay. Sure. And then there's, again, some question. When you're familiar with the backlog, it's not necessarily true that these really are the most important things to bring the category up to maturity. So you have to think about that and talk to customers in order to come up with your own. Maybe this is accurate, maybe it's not.
Sure.
Azure, we have a competitive analysis as well for Azure DevOps. The last analysis we did on this was they have a lot of different plugins that you can get, but they don't offer it built in the way that we do. But of course, we don't offer .NET, so for Azure DevOps, then that's not great. But we talk about that here. The one challenge that we have is that Code Climate doesn't have .NET support, or at least the last time I checked it, which is maybe 6 months ago. They were rolling something out, but it was not necessarily that great yet, or production ready. Yeah, and then this issue. So it's so this is kind of like that master one. Oh, this is the master one. So maybe this issue needs a little bit of grooming as well. I think that we've discussed not just showing the quality on master, but on any branch that you have, which is what actually is referred to here. So it's described here as a per branch view for how code quality progresses over time, but the issue description is saying master. So that's something to tie up.
Within that competitive analysis, I guess, is that the bulk of that competitive analysis write-up, or is there something else in?
This is it.
This is it? Okay.
Yeah, when I wrote this, probably 99% sure I wrote this. I had just gone out and done some research on Azure DevOps, and like searched for code quality on Azure DevOps and how it works, and so probably this is ready for an update.
Is it usually just one or two products in there or competitors in there, or can that be a pretty big list?
It can be a big list. It depends on who you're going up against for the category. Okay. For this, it's really the longer implied name of the category is like integrated code quality for CI pipelines. Is really what this is. So your competitors here are other CI tools. And if any of them are doing anything more than just like letting you run Code Climate or whatever, then it's worth to know that and to list that here.
Okay.
And to have an issue to do whatever it is they're doing. Because it's always good to have an issue. Even if you think like, oh, I don't really like the way that Circle CI does code quality, but they have some feature that we don't have. Make that issue because you may find that customers show up and comment in it and upvote it, and then you could find out that you were wrong. And it's better to find out that you're wrong than to be blissfully incorrect and unaware. Yeah. So publishing that kind of thing is very, very helpful. But I think what a lot of people are doing with code quality right now is pretty basic, but we'll see. This one, customer success issue showing instance-wide code statistics. I think that actually this probably needs to move to a different category now. I think we have like a category that's like about this sort of thing. I can't remember what it's called right now, embarrassingly enough. Yeah, I think that this actually belongs somewhere else. I think it might be part of Create, but I'm not sure.
Okay, I'll ping the Create folks and see where that.
Yeah, just ask if they're familiar, if they're working on something like that. But you can see how it's actually pretty close to code quality. It's it's not exactly code quality, but sort of statistics that come out of code quality. But I think that for you, the seeing code quality over time on different branches is really your metric that's more interesting and relevant to code quality than just sort of like general developer code statistics. So maybe this is one to sort of come out and look for a new customer success sales issue that will drive engagement there. Most popular item, yeah, probably still the most popular, 59 upvotes. So this is one that we should be considering. It's currently in the backlog, but maybe worth doing sooner. Compare MR code coverage to target branch. Okay, so this is yet another one that's talking about relative code quality and how you're changing code quality over time. But yeah, we don't have this exactly where we're showing how your MR is going to impact the target branch after you merge it. Are you lowering it? Are you raising it? It's good info to know it's actionable. And this may sort of actually be a duplicate of the of one of these other ones that we were talking about.
Yeah.
If you do find duplicate issues, always keep the more highly upvoted one. Don't mark the highly upvoted one as a duplicate of a low upvoted one. They may have changed this. There's a feature request for it, but I don't think that they've implemented it yet, where upvotes from a duplicate issue are not transferred to the new issue, which is unfortunate. Okay, internal customer issue showing the code coverage delta in the MR widget. This may actually be the one that it's the duplicate of. Yeah.
Yeah.
So again, I'll talk about the same thing. This is what people want. It's the case for MRs, for categories who are sort of at the minimal level and getting to viable. Like everybody mostly wants almost the same things in order to get it to be usable. And then moving the vision forward, again, same issue. And then providing .NET support, which we covered in the competitive analysis as well. Also really, really important. For the company, we're trying to do better by our Windows customers. We're adding Windows runner support. We're doing more, the PowerShell executor. We're doing a lot around making sure that everything works great for Windows users. And so prioritizing that stuff is important. Tim is also prioritizing things around the NuGet package manager, which is something that Windows users are using. So all of that helps tell our multi-platform story, which is one of the themes in the CI/CD strategy.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's it.
Cool. So overall, in the maturity plan and the vision, do you have a general rule of thumb about how far out calendar-wise you should be thinking about those things? Couple of months, couple of quarters? Because how far out should we be ahead of that?
Well, all of these are kind of like your next things for each of the topics. So for the maturity plan, the next thing to do is bring it to viable. So it's we may not do that for 2 years, okay. But it is the next thing for bringing the category to viable. Gotcha. The top vision item is your next vision item. We may not do it for 2 years, but that's unlikely. But it's still your top next vision item. So that's the way to think about it, is have one thing for each of these, and it's sort of regardless of when it's going to happen or not.
Cool. And uh, one other thing I wanted to poke at a little bit is how much within the code quality category, how much data are we getting from users of the feature itself today?
That I don't know. Tim Hay is working on improving the dashboards per category. And so, excuse me, if you were able to send him some page view metrics, those will start to be collected and those will come in a new dashboard.
Okay.
There is a dashboard already, I think that Brendan made for Verify that has some metrics in it.
Okay.
You may also check with Elliot and ask if there's some way to get metrics. But I think it's mostly pretty limited. One thing about code quality is it's turned on by default. And so I think most pipelines have it. But who's engaging with it? I don't know. We want to get that info, but I don't think we have it yet. You can also, if you do your research and talk to Tim and everybody else, and it turns out like there's no data on who's using this, then you can schedule issues to add telemetry so that you can then get that data.
Yeah, from my perspective, I think until we have some quantitative data about usage, even getting qualitative is going to be, well, helpful, not necessarily enough to go off of to move the vision forward, I think. So
Right.
well, we'll get that sorted ASAP.
Yep.
Cool. I think that covers all the questions I had. Digging into the issues, I should be able to answer or reach out to the initiators about what problems they're trying to solve, how big that opportunity might be. So can get to the bottom of that if I haven't already. So
yeah, and we can check in on any of those anytime as well. If you want, also feel free to schedule another maybe hour, and we can try and knock out as many of the other categories as you have, because there'll be a little bit less repeating, and some of them are also very short.
Yep.
And then you can start thinking about relative prioritization amongst all these things too, because that's an interesting aspect.
Yeah, great. Well, this was really helpful. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks.
Thanks. Have a good one, Jason.
Bye.